Hey everybody, it's Nick and Malik here again talking about Captain Marvel. I mean Captain Marvel, I mean Captain Marvel, I mean Shazam. Yeah, so two technically Captain Marvel movies release like barely within a month of each other. I don't know if like Warner Brothers and Disney got together and were like, hey, this would be hilarious, let's just do it. I don't know, but I dig it.
So do I, man.
So I don't know. Yeah, we both just like recently saw this movie. What? I saw it just last night. You saw it the day. No. You saw it only a couple hours before me.
Yeah.
So we've only seen it the once each of us. It's still pretty fresh for both of us. So I don't know. You want to give general thoughts first, or should I?
I guess I'll go ahead and get my thoughts out of the way first. I will say, I know of Shazam. I know of his power set, and vaguely his characterization, and that's kind of it going to this movie. I wasn't really expecting anything other than a good, fun movie, and that's what I got. We'll get into the two big criticisms that I have, but I want to be positive just starting out the gate. I thought this was really fun. I think pretty much all the comedic moments landed. Almost everything in this movie was pretty darn funny for me. All the comedy stuff worked. The emotional core of the movie is family, and that doesn't work nearly as well as I think it should. And that's one of my big negatives, and I'll get into that a little later. But I had a blast watching this movie, and that's really all I wanted, and that's what I got. So I was pretty happy with it. I think all the performances are top notch. The kids are great. Mark Strong is great in everything. He's not like the most compelling villain in the world, but I enjoyed him.
Yeah. Feeling very, very similar. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I saw it. It's a good movie. I have issues with it that we'll get into later. Mark Strong as the villain is maybe one of those. I think he's a good villain. I think I don't really have any issues with him. He, much like a lot of the film, I think, just kind of needed an extra push, or maybe a few tweaks here or there to be something really stand out. And that's kind of how I feel about the whole thing. Where, like, I don't know, we'll get into kind of the wider reception of this movie at some point, I guess. But, I don't know, I feel pretty much the same as you did. I sat down with it, it was a good time. Not sure where I would put it relative to Wonder Woman or Aquaman. I think I still prefer those two movies to this one. And, I don't know, there's a lot to like. I don't know, just because so many people have already talked about this and said, like, heaped praises on it, I almost feel like the negatives are going to be the more interesting, like, things that I have to say. Although I will say, sort of throwing back to, there was Evolution have already done their video on this movie, and Eric there raised sort of the interesting point. It was actually really funny because it was his least favorite thing about the movie, and it was Captain Logan's favorite thing, being like whether or not Zachary Levi as Shazam and Asher Angel as Billy Batson feel like the same person. I'm happy to say that I did not share that problem. I thought that they were very in sync with each other in terms of characterization and stuff.
Now, see, I'm more with Eric on that.
Okay, so I don't know. Let's just get right into that, because my thing is, I can totally see having that perspective. It's just that someone raised a really good point, which is that when Billy, like Kid Billy, is like in a position of power, or when he's sort of messing with people, he's got this kind of attitude that I think is reflected in the Zachary Levi bits. And I think that's just because, again, he has that kind of power. Like, once he's super invincible, can basically do whatever he wants, I buy that he acts like that and that he has kind of a change in demeanor. I don't feel the way Eric did, which is like the kid is 14, 15, and he claims that like Zachary Levi is playing more like 10-ish. I definitely
I
didn't
do
get
kind of
that.
agree with that, to be honest with you, Nick.
It's interesting.
Like I
Yeah,
was
because I went.
getting. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, you go.
I was just gonna say I was getting more Ben 10, like classic Ben 10 vibes from Zachary Levi's performance, and I do. Aside from that token moment at the beginning of the movie where he's messing around with the cops and he tricks the cops, we really don't get that same super like fun-loving, childish demeanor from the kid actor for really the rest of the movie. Like he's kind of he's more like hardened and I guess like street smart than the kid that Zachary Levi is pretending to be.
Hmm.
They don't wholly feel like the same person to me.
I
Um,
suppose. I feel like we get a little bit of that when he's like messing with the bullies, also.
yeah, he's a little like sarcastic and wisecracking there, but I don't know. Like those two moments aside, I don't feel like we're really looking at the same person when we get to Zachary Levi. But that's just me.
That's fair.
It doesn't wholly break the movie for me, um, but it is a criticism I do have, and that's not even my main issue with this movie. It's
Yeah,
fine. I can move past it, but I do think that that is a bit of a problem, and I don't really know how you fix it given the conceit of the movie, because you
yeah.
have an older, more world weary, like more a little more wise beyond his years kid who's street smart and has had to live out on the streets because he kept running away from his foster families. He's on this quest to find his mom. You can't really have that kid be like so oblivious and fun loving like Zachary Levi is acting like he is. Like that feels more 10 or 11. And from the actual kid, I get more of a 14, 15 vibe.
See, I think there's one specific scene where there's kind of a disconnect, because I think the thing that I rationalize it with is that in a lot of the scenes he's discovering new powers for the first time, and I don't care like how hardened or world you are, if you're a kid or really just if you're anyone, like discovering the superpowers that you have is gonna make you excited and at least for a little bit want to have fun with it. So when he finds out he has super speed for the first time and he's freaking out over that, or lightning hands initially, and he's just like over the moon about the fact that he can do that, and when he flies for the first time he's like, I can freaking fly. Like I buy that that's the reaction he has in the moment, is like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to indulge in this for a little bit because I have superpowers. The big thing where it gets me is the scene where, and this is where Freddy comes in and like gets on his case, is he's like doing shows out on like the rocky steps. He's doing like lightning with my hands. I'm like that felt like that was funny, but that was the big moment for me that felt like I don't think this character would be doing that. Unless the idea is he's trying to raise money so that he can find his mom, which he does mention he wants money for that reason at some point, but I'm like, we should have talked about that a little bit more.
We definitely should have made that more explicit. Um, yeah, that's maybe it might have been a scene or two before that, but yeah, that was kind of the moment where I'm like, yeah, this isn't really working because like all the like him initially getting his powers and like trying testing out the powers and all that stuff was fine and that worked. Like yeah, he still is a kid. I would have done the exact same thing at 15, 16 even. Like his performance when he's first getting the powers and like learning how to use them, all that's fine. But it's just like further throughout the movie, and the more and more we keep switching back, they start to the seams start to show a little bit for me.
I suppose. I also do just think that there's moments when he's Zachary Levi where he does have a less innocent, more of that hard edge to him and his sense of humor. I could have done more with it, but I don't know. It's kind of like what you mentioned. It's the premise of the movie. We do kind of want to lean into the novelty in a way where if we made him like too cynical and too sort of like hard-edged while he's in costume, it's kind of like missing the point and missing out on the fun factor. It's a weird kind of corner that they didn't entirely get themselves out of, I don't think.
No. I guess I'll go ahead and just throw my big issue out there, and that is the big theme of this movie does not work as well as it should. The big theme of the movie is family, and we get the scene where he shows up there for the first time. He's introduced to this new family, but we don't spend like any time with him like bonding with them at all throughout this movie. And then for like a good 90% of this movie, and then we get the big climactic action scene where they're all involved, and Shazam, gives them his power, and they're learning how to use it, and they're all working together. And that sequence in the movie is really the first time like they all really bond. Like, I don't buy that he forged a bond with this family throughout the course of the film, because he doesn't really spend any time with this family, really at all. He spends time with the disabled kid, and we have one token scene where he's Shazam and he's talking to the eldest sister, who's going to college. Oh yeah, she's about to go to college and she's afraid to do it or whatever. We get one token scene with those two, but by and large, he's not. I don't buy that he's forged a real bond with this family, because if he did, it happened off screen, and that's unfortunate.
I did buy it personally. Like,
we just don't. We needed like another, I don't know, at least 5-7 minutes of him spending time with this family, I think.
I don't know. I could have done with maybe another scene or two, but I don't think of it as an issue. I felt like I got just enough to buy it. Like, I really like the scene with Mary where he's sort of coming face to face with someone who's really attached to the foster family that they have for the first time, and it's making him really question like how he goes about things and how he thinks about that kind of stuff. And Darla, who like attaches herself to him immediately and is his polar opposite in terms of just like, oh, you're here now? Well, you're immediately part of the family. Hi, big brother. And it's like, that is also an extreme, but I don't know. I really like the way that kind of clashes with his, I really don't want to be here right now. And
the Hispanic kid he doesn't talk to at all.
Yeah. Pedro is definitely, it's like he gets the shortest end of the stick. What I do like, though, a lot is the scene where, like, they realize who he is, and the hilarious bit where it's like, yes, you figured it out, I'm still a good sister. But, like, they go out of their way to find his mom for him. And it's like, I think that's a really neat moment. Where it's like,
he doesn't even seem particularly, he can't even muster a thank you. He just immediately runs off to go and find her. I thought that was a missed opportunity. Like, I don't know, maybe a thank you, have them all group hug, like something.
On the one hand, yes. On the other hand, I think it's more in character. Yeah, more in character that he rushes out there, only to have like his sort of hopes immediately dashed. I don't know. I think maybe there's like a scene missing that could have brought it all together, but for the most part, I buy it. I don't think of it as like a negative. I think it's fine.
That's fair. That's still a big negative for me. But other than that, I really didn't have any issues with this movie. I gotta talk about the scene where Mark Strong murders that staff in the building. That felt like the scene in Spider-Man 2 when Dr. Octavius. I said Optimus. Optimus Prime. No, when Dr. Octavius wakes up and murders all those nurses and doctors.
Yeah, it's I think you could make the argument that it's like a little bit extreme for this movie, but I dug it.
Yeah, that is the horror movie, and this director is seeping out.
Yeah. And I'm trying to piece together what it is about that character that kind of stops working for me because I don't like I don't know. I really like him in scenes, and then at other points, it's particularly towards the climax. I feel like okay, he wants the powers of Shazam. He wants to prove he's the champion and stuff. I don't know. That's maybe a little bit too broad of a motivation for me. I'm not sure
Is
what the
it?
deal is.
I mean, he wants the power. That's it. He was told he couldn't have the power, and he's doing everything in his power to get said power.
I feel like that character peaks with that scene in The Office where he's talking to his dad and he throws his brother out the window. Like that, I feel like is the peak of that character. And I don't know, it's just like he's fine. For most of the movie, he's serviceable.
Yeah, I don't need every single villain to be like amazing and like Oscar worthy and compelling. Like I don't need every villain to be Thanos or Joker from The Dark Knight.
Oh no, or even like Orm. Like I really, really liked Orm in Aquaman.
So
And
did I.
here's another one.
I don't
And
think we
Savannah's
ever
like,
did a spoiler cast for Aquaman, but
I don't believe.
yeah, we definitely didn't. Maybe we should. Maybe we should eventually do that. But
Yeah,
that scream that Orm does throughout the movie is unintentionally hilarious.
it's fun. But yeah, I don't know. Like a lot of this movie, I feel like it's can be summed up with like, it's good. It's just not great. And I feel kind of bad because there's a lot of people that I follow who are talking about this movie like it's another Spider-Verse. Like it's really, really amazing, almost transcends the genre type stuff, and I just wish I had that experience, but I didn't.
Yeah, I don't see how it's that kind of movie, and I don't see how it's changing hearts and minds in that way. This is no, in my opinion anyway, this is by no means a super revolutionary movie. It's just another really fun superhero film.
Yeah, and like the action is alright. I can't really think of many standout action moments. I'll tell you, the how did your like theater react, if at all, to the actual like group Shazam moment? Because
Um,
that like is the one scene where it was like, oh yes, yes, I really feel like I'm really getting the emotional sort of like transcendence where it's like, oh yes, we finally did it. It's great. It's amazing.
I think, yeah, that was the loudest cheer moment in the movie.
Hmm.
In my theater was when Shazam gave his power to all his foster family.
Yeah. Like, I wish I hadn't listened to any reviews of this movie going in, because that moment still landed for me, but I kind of put it together based on what people had said, even in spoiler-free reviews. Is like, there's a big twist in Act 3. It's something they didn't see coming. It's a bit of like Shazam mythology. It's like, he's gonna, they're gonna all have powers by the end, aren't they? And they didn't. Like, I saw it coming, but oh, it's still so good. And I will say, I think it's doubly ironic that the people like really, really praising this one are the same kinds of people I see complain about like overuse of comedy and bathos in Marvel movies or in Aquaman and stuff. Because I feel like this movie also has that, and it almost like wrecks that moment for me.
Yeah,
Which is like,
this movie has that to the nines, and like
yeah,
I, I don't get that complaint either. Like, oh, Aquaman is too jokey, but this
it's like
movie is already the best movie ever, and we're only 3 months or 4 months into the year. Like, I don't understand that.
it doesn't bother me outside of like two key moments because the one that we're talking about now where he gives the group the powers, it's like that's great. He's like, say my name. And they're like, Billy. He's like, no, the name that I say to turn into this. I'm like, okay, I guess that makes sense that they would say that, but at the same time, like, they've been listening to him, yeah, they've been listening to him say Shazam all night. I feel like the scene would have landed like even harder if we just skipped that little bit. and just have them say Shazam off the bat. It's like we've got the dramatic build up in the music. It's like it's really odd. That was one moment where it was like undercutting it where it was not necessary. And the other one for me, which I don't think is maybe as bad of an example, is right after we have the really, really like emotionally real scene of him finding his mom, and his mom is like, you know, I kind of left you on purpose. I was not ready to be a mom. I figured they'd take better care of you. But you're good, right? I'm kind of like still not ready to be a mom. I'm kind of doing my own thing. And he gives her that compass and is like, I think you need it more than me. And it's like he walks off and he's got tears in his eyes. It's a really grounded, just powerful scene. And then he gets the call from Savannah. It's like, oh no, he's got to the house. He's got everyone. Suddenly you're filled with dread. And then Freddy's like, supervillain. And I'm like, ah, I didn't need that little comedic button right there. I didn't need it.
That's fair. Everyone in my theater laughed at it, but yeah, that's fair.
I laughed, but like, I didn't need it.
And what? Oh yeah, the actor who plays the wizard.
Hansu.
Yeah, I'm glad he was in this. That is a highly underused and underrated actor. I really liked him in I think it was Blood Diamond.
Hmm.
He's been so underused in movies lately. He was
underused in the other Marvel movie.
He's a disposable bad guy in the Fast and Furious films. He's a disposable bad guy in Guardians. He's a disposable bad guy in Captain Marvel. Like, can we please give this man of color a decent role for once?
Yeah, he's really good. Come on.
Like both that and Never Back Down, which is a more low-key boxing movie that not a lot of people have seen. He was really good in that.
But yeah, I'm not entirely sure there's too much more for me to say. Oh, okay. This is like my real big like negative, which is just that I feel personally like a lot of people praise the movie's third act. Like the people who really love it always say that the third act is like the high point. I felt like it dragged a lot. Like I could have cut like 5, 6, 7 minutes off of the climax and not have missed too much. Like
I don't feel like it dragged. I feel like it was another Man of Steel situation where we went without any real action for so long in the movie that they just felt the need to bombard us with it in the third act.
Yeah, because that's like the first real action fight sequence, isn't it?
Well, you have the first action sequence where they fight and then Shazam eventually runs away.
Yeah, though he's basically running away the whole time. Like he throws a couple punches and it doesn't do anything, and then it's all running. But
that is for all the purposes an action scene.
Yeah, still, it's just like I don't know. Maybe it's just because I really had to go to the bathroom. That might have been it. But I don't know. By the time they get to the carnival, and it's a bunch of running away from the monsters, and the monsters catch them, and then fight the monsters, it was really starting to feel its length for me. Like I was starting to get to the point where it was like, okay, I'm kind of done with this. And then them getting the powers, like, and all having the powers together was like a shot in the arm. And then even then, after that, I feel like it kind of goes on a little bit. And it's like, all right, okay, I feel like that could have shaved a couple minutes off itself.
That's fair, I guess. I didn't really have that issue.
Yeah, I know that's gonna be
outside of the one joke that they throw in that I didn't need. Where like, Mark Strong's character is like a good maybe 60, 70 yards away from Shazam, and they're both in the air floating.
Yeah.
He gives his villain monologue, and Shazam is too far away to hear him, and it's a cheap laugh, but I don't know, it didn't really need to be there.
Yeah, those, like, and plus we've seen that kind of joke done before a couple of times. Like, I want to say it was in, like, the Lego movie or something. Like, I don't know, we've definitely seen that gag done before. And it's like, I don't know. I really wish I, like, loved this movie the way that a lot of people seem to love it, but yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah. I thought it was good. I did get a lot of enjoyment out of it, and I gotta admit, I would probably go back to this before going back to Captain Marvel, having rewatched that movie again. Um, but yeah, that's. I think we wrapped this up pretty nicely. I don't think we left anything out. Um, Before I close out, I do want to say that the Freddy Kid is great. He's
Yeah,
my favorite movie.
yeah, he's giving really, really good performance. And yeah, that's about it. I guess my final thought is I'd actually probably go back to Captain Marvel first before this. I know that's gonna be like the minority opinion, like no one is gonna agree with me on that. But meh, I don't know. I didn't quite feel it with this one outside of a few token moments.
All right, fair enough, bro. Fair enough. Well, this was Malik Myers
And Nicholas Moore, a 420 Blaze It.
signing off. See you later, guys. We have something very special coming that I am excited for us to do. It's the first time we've ever done it, but you guys will find out what that is when it posts.
It's gonna be good.